Oh, let's go. Yes. G'day, welcome to Fishing. Michael Guesty here to have a bit of a chat about getting the most out of each and every cast when you're out and about fishing. So you've got your gear, got a fantastic Veritas outfit here with a new ALX reel, some X9 braid, some fluorocarbon leader, and I've got a soft plastic on. But it's no good if I can only cast it 10 or 12 feet in front of me. You've got to be able to load those casts and fire them out there. First thing first, you do not want your braid, so X9 braid here, so some Vanish fluorocarbon leader, you do not want that knot to go on that spool when you're casting. It can easily pick up a loop in your braid. It's the last thing you want, so you do not want that knot, even though that's a very slim knot, that one. You don't want it on there when you're casting. So I'll let that back down again. So my knot at the moment, my joining knot finishes about there, and if we come along the rod length here of our fluorocarbon leader, I've got about 300 mil of drop down to my lure there. Okay, so that's about right. So first things first, make sure that you choose the right rod for the right lure weight. There's no point having too heavy a rod, so a 6 to 10 kilo rod trying to throw the smallest little soft plastic in the world, because that's just not going to work. You don't have enough flex to power that cast up in that rod, and vice versa. No point having a great big heavy lure with a 3/4 ounce jig head on a 1 to 3 kilo rod, because it's too heavy. A, you'd probably break the rod trying to cast it. B, it's got too much flex. So you've got to get that balance right. 3 to 5 kilo, 3/8 of an ounce jig head with that 5-inch paddle tail soft plastics, all pretty well spot on. So first things first, so make sure you get a nice comfortable grip. I generally split my fingers. I like to keep 2 fingers in front of the reel, one there, and then that forefinger is going to hold my line before I cast once I open that bail arm. So there's our bail arm there. You want the bail arm up the top. If it's not there, then just turn it around, wind it around if you need to. Make sure that bail arm's at the top. Finger goes there, open that bail arm, and then that line's ready to shoot out. What I do then too, you can cast one-handed. I've got a slightly different casting technique to other people. Doesn't matter, whatever works for you, that's going to be great, but you've got to get the most out of the cast. So I generally hold the rod here and there, so that gives me a really big, powerful cast, because I've got this great leverage point there. So finger there. What we want to do now is load that rod up. I'll just move away a little bit. You can see that lure hanging down. It's so important that we don't just go like that. There's no power in that cast. There's no power at all. I've seen big blokes with big strong arms who can't cast very far at all because they don't get any load in the rod. So you've got to load that rod. So what we want to do is really make sure that we accelerate really hard through that first part of the cast, and then keep our rod pointed at about 45 degrees and hold it there, and then follow the line as it goes out. So there's no point getting a big cast out and then stopping the rod there, or putting the rod in the water, because the friction of the water is going to slow the line moving through your guides. So load it up, here we go, load it up here, arm here, load that up and accelerate, and keep your rod tip pointed out there. That went an absolute mile then. It also helps. Today I've got the wind in my back here. Casting into the breeze can be difficult if you don't have that right balance with rod and lure weight. So once again, I'll crank that back in. You have to accelerate through that first part of the cast. It's the same. There's nothing worse than if I'm here, I've got the boat here today, but if I'm walking along the bank and I see some big tailor bust up over there and they're not quite in that casting distance, can be very frustrating. So a big long cast can be absolutely crucial. So once again, split your fingers, bail arm is up to the top, it's open, it's ready to fire out. We've got the right setup for that lure weight. Hand here, load it up and punch. And keep that rod tip pointed up, follow it down, and you'll get a nice long cast. So we've got our big long cast sorted out. Now we want to look at casting accurately when it comes to snags. So fish like barramundi, mangrove jacks, estuary systems like this one where you've got big old timber logs laying in there, there'll be flathead and brim. If you're in the freshwater chasing murray cod or bass, doesn't matter what it is, it's really important to be able to put that cast where you want it. So spin tackle like this, change things up a little bit, have a little bit shorter, what we call drop back. So we've only got about probably 250, 300 mil at the most. And then what I do is I hold the line in one hand. I'm going to let the line run through my fingers. So if I cast at the snag in front of me there, it's a nice cast, and then I just use my fingers to break the cast. So I use it as a brake, and then I can get it to come come straight back out. If I'm not happy with the cast, fire another one in. So once again, rod tip up, pointing, everything's going at the target. So I'm not going around like this, or sometimes you've got to if you've got branches and things, but in this case I can go straight at it, straight over, use my fingers, bang, it's right in the zone. Straight away, straight off onto the bail arm, click it over, wind it out, and just practice. Once again, short drop, not a big long drop. If I was wanting to have a big long cast, I'd go a little bit further with that. Line that rod tip up, look at the target, fire away, and then use your fingers as a brake. Other people have slightly different techniques, but I've got to tell you, that's a really easy way to get started. And just use those fingers as the brake just to pull that line up. Quite often it's better to work your way into the snag and just drop that line. That's perfect, right in the zone there. Work your way into the snag, because if you go too far and you get hooked up, A, you'll lose your lure, B, you're going to spook whatever's living underneath there in the first place. So there you go, there's a few pointers to help you with your casting. Once again, make sure you keep that leader knot off your spool, because that can easily pull up a loop. Make sure you power up and accelerate right through that cast, point at the target. And when it comes to casting at those snags, get in the backyard and keep practicing and you'll soon get it.